Hi everyone, this is Brian Neal with TradeToBeFree.com and want to give you a market update, go over some of the averages, and take a look at where the market might go in the days and weeks ahead and how that affects our trading. But first I want to talk about some things that are really working right now that we started to see over the past couple weeks, and those are the ones, our two favorite strategies right now, the earnings eruption strategy and also the high tight flag breakout. What I want to show you here is Hovnavian and how it broke out of multiple high tight flags here in this very strong uptrend. And this has been one of the top performers in the market over the past several weeks, or the past month or two, and it continues to scoot higher here. What I want to show you though is how clean these breakouts are going here. We haven't seen too many high tight flag breakouts for the past few weeks, but the ones that have been well formed and meet the rules in our course as far as the technical setup. This one has a little bit lower volume than we would like, okay, so it's a little more risky, all right, to buy in the breakout, but they're making really clean breakouts and not pulling back hardly at all. And this is a really good sign heading into earnings season, because once we see some breakouts that are better in terms of the volume and in terms of some other factors, we should see some really big moves out of earnings eruptions trades and right after earnings, and also the high tight flag breakouts on better stocks, or better, more liquid stocks, I should say. And what I want to show you here is how this stock broke out of this high tight flag breakout here. This is a 10-minute chart, and it shows you what goes on during the day. And this 2383 here is a high in the high tight flag on a daily chart, and we can see we have 1, 2, 3 days of trading activity, which is good enough given the strength of the trend, underlying trend here. Okay, then we see the breakout, and we see the stock take off, and we can see it hardly pulled back at all. In fact, it may have pulled back maybe 0.5% or so below the entry point before going up all the way from 2380 up to 2840. So that's what, about 20% move here in just 1, 2, 3 days. In less than 3 days, we've seen a 20% move, and that's pretty common out of high tight flag patterns. Okay, but the breakout was so clean through here. We're seeing that over and over again. I can show you another one here. This is another one that was a little bit light on the volume, and that can make it more tough to get out of the trade if it goes against us. But again, we see a very clean breakout here out of this very strong pattern on a daily chart. Okay, that moved, I think, 15% within 24 hours or so after breaking out here of the 980, which was the top of the high tight flag. And we can even see a couple handle pattern here on a 10-minute chart ahead of the breakout. Okay, so these real clean breakouts are a good sign for the weeks ahead, because earnings season is starting just now. So we're having Netflix report after the bell, and that may set up a good trade later on. We're not going to try to guess which companies beat by a wide margin. In most cases, that's not what we do. What we do is we try to find a really good pattern on a daily chart, okay? And if they have a great earnings report and positive outlook, and they reach the entry point at the same time, okay, after the news, then we want to jump in. And that's been the key to success over the past few months, is not only have the great stock, the great long-term trend, the great consolidation pattern, but also a move through the technical entry point with a catalyst. And these clean breakouts that we're seeing on these lower volume stocks is a good sign for the weeks ahead, because we'll see some really big breakouts on the top stocks, and we'll have some really nice trades, I think, in the weeks ahead. And this is sort of the last hurrah over the next several weeks till the end of November, really, before the market quiets down in early December, usually pulls back in early December. Earnings season ends in later on November, and we can look forward to January and maybe the end of December. But these next few weeks are pretty much the last hurrah in 2019. So we want to make sure we capture the best opportunities that come up. These stocks that are making these clean breakouts are a good sign here. I can show you another example of this. This is a stock that met the criteria in the earnings eruption strategy. If we look at a 1-hour chart here, we can see that on this day, this was back in September, late September, okay, He had a real nice pre-market pattern, had all the requirements met in the strategy, more or less. A little light in one area, but it hit the entry point, and again, it had that clean breakout. And it moved, I think, 7% higher, 8% higher the same day for a real nice earnings eruptions trade. And another example I'm going to show you here is a bull flag pattern, not a high type flag, but a bull flag pattern. Hit the entry point, broke the pre-market high here, pulled back maybe 1 or 2%, I think it was around, right around 150, 151 was a breakout point, and we can see that's up, more than 10% within a day. This is a 1-hour chart again, and if we bring up a 10-minute chart, we can see that a little better here. You can see the breakout here, and then it went up, more than 10% from there. We want to see breakouts and stocks that hit a good technical entry point without pulling back much. Those clean breakouts allow us to take the tight stop loss and a larger position size with a higher win rate. Okay, and then we're seeing that over the past few weeks. So this bodes well for the better stocks that are coming up in the weeks ahead that have the positive catalyst. Now, we don't know right now which ones will and which ones won't. We won't know until after the earnings report. Okay, so we got to be ready and make sure we have our watch list ready and our alert with our broker to let us know when the price reaches the entry point, and then see if it has that earnings beat and the raised outlook and really good news that should push the stock price higher. Okay, because if they break out and hit the good technical entry point, they're flying right now without pulling back. So it's a good sign. It could change in the weeks ahead. Right now, for the overall market, what we're seeing is, these mixed signals. We saw a bearish signal here, and that pullback, that 7-8% pullback from the highs here. Okay, then we had a bullish signal that turned over here, and then we had a bearish signal, and that's being nullified right now. So, after we see the bearish signal, we want to wait to see that first rebound, and we want to see that in lower volume, and we want to see a lot of follow through to the downside, and want to see that with a lot of volume. And we really didn't see that follow through here, even though it was set up for that, and it rebounded quickly and came back up here. It almost closed above 81.50. We're looking for a move above this high here on the daily chart and start making a move towards the highs. That would turn us more bullish. Right now we're neutral. We're seeing a lot of mixed signals along the way here. And what's really important, though, is that the market conditions are good enough to support the best breakouts and the best stocks. And that's all we care about. We don't need a perfect environment for that. All we need is good enough. And right now, the market conditions are good enough for that, for those big moves. Like we saw with Roku last earnings season, and ENPH made a really big move after earnings, and others. And as long as market conditions are good enough, that'll support these really big breakouts. And if we're seeing really clean breakouts right now, that's even better, a better sign for the weeks ahead. So, after hours tonight, we have Netflix and we have other stocks that are going to come up more and more. Usually the first week or two is not that exciting. And I think 2 weeks from now, though, we'll have more and more of these coming up, these big earnings eruptions trades, and also these big consolidation breakouts on top stocks. And we want to be ready and take advantage of those while we can during earnings season, which again will last several weeks. And of course, we can watch for the earnings flag breakouts. The market holds up well and it continues to go sideways or higher. Then we'll have those earnings flags to play too if you want to have less volatility at the breakout point. But again, right now we're seeing real clean breakouts, and that just means that we can put a real tight stop loss in there with a larger position size and play a few of these, and should do really well as long as that continues. The market conditions are good enough, and those clean breakouts continue in the weeks ahead. And right now we're not seeing signs of that fading yet. So exciting times in the next few weeks. You can check out the earnings eruption strategy on the blog. Just search on earnings eruptions on the blog, and you can find some more examples of that and learn more about that strategy. And also the high type flag breakout, we'll have more information about that strategy too on the blog. But it's really great time right now to learn that and get ready and take advantage of these big opportunities when they come up. So, all right, that's about it for now, guys, and we'll talk to you again real soon.